The boss gave my promotion to his 25-year-old daughter and told me to train her because he thought my $1,450 alimony check meant I'd just take the hit. He was wrong. My name's Buck Holloway. I'm 48 years old, and I've spent the last 6 years keeping Ironwood Logistics from drowning in its own incompetence. 6 years. That doesn't sound like much until you understand what those years looked like from the inside. 60-hour weeks. Red-eye flights to Phoenix when a shipment went sideways. Christmas mornings spent on my laptop in the kitchen while my son opened presents alone because the Miller account was hemorrhaging and nobody else knew how to stop the bleeding. The Miller account. $2.7 million in annual revenue. I saved that account 3 times. Once at 2 a.m. from a hotel room in Tucson. Once from the parking lot of my ex-wife's house while waiting to pick up Danny for my weekend. Once from a hospital bed after my appendix decided to quit on me. I saved it because that's what I do. That's what I've always done. Before Ironwood, I spent 8 years in the Navy. Supply logistics on the USS Kitty Hawk. You learn things on a carrier that no business school teaches. You learn that systems only work when someone actually understands them. You learn that the person who knows where every bolt goes is worth more than the officer who signs the manifests. When I came to Ironwood, they were a mess. Regional routes overlapping. Drivers taking 3 hours to do 2-hour runs. The dispatch system was held together with spreadsheets and prayers. I fixed it. Not overnight. Not with some revolutionary strategy. I fixed it the only way you fix anything real. One conversation at a time. One driver at a time. One client at a time. The Southwest client base became mine. Not on paper. On paper, those accounts belong to Ironwood Logistics. But paper doesn't answer the phone at 11 p.m. when a shipment goes missing in Albuquerque. Paper doesn't remember that Jim Castillo's daughter has softball tournaments every June and needs his deliveries rescheduled around them. Paper doesn't know that the Garcia warehouse floods every monsoon season and needs backup routing built into every contract. I knew all of it. Every quirk, every preference, every relationship. That knowledge lived in my head. Nowhere else. I never wrote it down because nobody ever asked me to. Because that's how these things work. The company takes your expertise for granted until suddenly they need it and can't find it anywhere. The promotion was supposed to be mine. Regional Operations Director. $94,000 a year plus benefits. I'd been doing the job without the title for 2 years already. Everyone knew it. Even Preston Whitmore knew it. Preston Whitmore. CEO, third-generation owner of a company his grandfather built and his father nearly destroyed. Preston spent his 20s playing golf and his 30s avoiding the office. Bloated. Thinning hair combed over like it fooled anyone. Got his position when his father-in-law finally retired and handed him the keys. He called me into his office on a Tuesday. The conference room smelled like old coffee and the cologne Preston wore too much of. Sweet. Cloying. The smell of a man who thought expensive things made him impressive. Buck, I want to talk about the regional director position. I sat down across from him. Waited. The board and I have decided to go in a different direction. Different direction. That phrase again. I'd heard it before, in other offices, other conversations. It never meant anything good. We're promoting Cassidy to regional director. Cassidy, his daughter, 25 years old, Northwestern MBA, class of 2024. She'd been at the company for 11 months. Most of that time she'd spent redesigning the employee newsletter and hosting culture workshops that nobody attended. I see, I said. She brings fresh perspectives, new energy. Preston leaned back in his chair. The company needs to evolve, Buck. We can't keep doing things the way we've always done them. Fresh perspectives, new energy, the same words every time, the same excuse every time. I understand. Good. He smiled. the smile of a man who expected resistance and was pleased not to find any. I knew you'd be professional about this. That's what I told Cassidy. Buck's a team player. Buck will help with the transition. Transition. He meant training. He meant taking everything I knew and handing it to a 25-year-old who thought logistics was something you optimized with an app. We'd like you to spend the next few weeks bringing her up to speed. The Southwest accounts, the routing systems, driver relationships. He waved his hand vaguely. All of it. All of it. 6 years of 60-hour weeks. $2.7 million in accounts I'd saved 3 times. Driver relationships I'd built one handshake at a time. All of it. Handed to someone whose primary qualification was sharing DNA with the man behind the desk. I want to make sure you understand how much we value you, Buck. You're the backbone of this operation. Preston's voice dropped into what he probably thought was sincerity. Between us, I know this is tough, but you've got responsibilities. Mortgage, that alimony payment to Karen, Danny's tuition coming up. There it was, the real message beneath the corporate language. You need this job. You're trapped. You'll take whatever we give you because you can't afford not to. $1,450 a month, right? Preston continued. Alimony's no joke. I get it. But that's exactly why I know you'll help make this transition smooth. You're practical. You understand how things work. He thought he was being sympathetic. He thought he was connecting with me. Man to man, he had no idea what he'd just revealed. The door was cracked open. Hallway carried sound better than people realized. I'd stood in that hallway 2 weeks earlier, listening to Preston and Cassidy discuss my future. What about Buck? She'd asked. He's been here forever. Buck won't cause problems. He's got an ex-wife draining his bank account every month. He needs this job too much to make waves. He needs this job too much. That's when something shifted in me. Not broke. Shifted. Like tumblers clicking into place. I appreciate you explaining, I said. Of course. Preston stood, offered his hand. This is the right move for Ironwood, Buck. You'll see. Cassidy has vision. She's going to modernize this whole operation. I shook his hand. When do you want me to start the transition training? Monday. Her office is down the hall from yours. I told her you'd bring her up to speed on the Southwest accounts first. All right. I walked out of his office, past the conference room where Cassidy was already arranging furniture, her MacBook open to what looked like a redesigned org chart. She didn't look up. The hallway smelled like industrial carpet cleaner. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. 6 years of my life lived under those lights. I went back to my desk, sat down, looked at my computer screen. The Southwest client list was open. Jim Castillo, the Garcia Warehouse, Maria Santos at the Phoenix Distribution Center. 23 accounts that represented 60% of Ironwood's cash flow. 23 relationships that existed because of me. I closed the laptop, picked up my coffee mug, the one Danny gave me for Father's Day 3 years ago. World's okayest dad, it said. He thought he was being funny. I put it in my bag, took one more look around the office. Then I left. Preston was right about one thing. I understood how things worked. He just had no idea how well. The next morning, I arrived at exactly 8:47 a.m. Same time I'd arrived every day for 6 years. Cassidy was already in her new office. The one with the window. The one that should have been mine. She'd replaced the standard issue desk lamp with something chrome and angular. Modern. A succulent sat next to her keyboard. The kind of plant people buy when they want to look like they care about living things without actually caring for them. Buck. She waved me in. Smiled the smile of someone who'd been told this would be easy. Dad said you'd help me get oriented. I really appreciate it. Sure. I sat down across from her. Waited. So. She pulled up something on her MacBook. I've been reviewing the Southwest accounts. I have some ideas about optimization. streamlining the communication protocols, maybe implementing a new CRM system to track client interactions. CRM system, client relationship management, as if 23 years of handshakes and late-night phone calls could be captured in a database. Sounds good, I said. Great. She looked relieved. Dad said you might be resistant to change. I'm glad that's not the case. Resistant to change. That's what they called it when experience questioned ignorance. I want to do this right, I said. The Southwest accounts are complicated. Lots of history. Lots of personal relationships. That's exactly what I want to modernize. Cassidy leaned forward, eager. Personal relationships don't scale, Buck. We need systems, processes, something that doesn't depend on any single person. Something that doesn't depend on any single person. She had no idea what she was saying. No idea that she just described exactly what I was about to prove. Where do you want to start? I asked. The Miller account. Dad says it's our biggest. $2.7 million annually, right? That's right. Walk me through it. So I did. I walked her through the surface, the contract terms, the delivery schedules, the billing cycles, everything that existed on paper. I didn't mention that Jim Miller's wife had cancer 3 years ago, and I'd personally rerouted his shipments for 6 weeks so he could spend time at the hospital. I didn't mention that his operations manager, Beth Kendrick, only trusted me because I'd driven 4 hours to fix a warehouse crisis in person when everyone else wanted to handle it by phone. I gave her the spreadsheet version of a relationship. This is great, she said. Really comprehensive. I think I can take it from here. You sure? Absolutely. She smiled again, confident. I mean, I'll reach out if I have questions, but I think the key here is fresh perspectives. Sometimes you're too close to something to see how it could be better. Fresh perspectives. Makes sense, I said. If you love stories about corporate underdogs who refuse to stay down, hit that subscribe button right now. Every day brings completely new stories, each one more thrilling than the last. That was Monday. By Friday, I'd completed my transition documentation. 47 pages of procedures, schedules, and contact lists. Everything that could be written down. Nothing that actually mattered. At 4:58 p.m. on Friday, I saved the document to the shared drive. Sent Cassidy an email confirming completion. At 5 p.m. exactly, I shut down my computer. Preston was still in his office. Through the glass, I could see him on the phone, laughing, celebrating something. I walked past without stopping. Buck. It was Marlene from HR. She'd been with the company 15 years, knew where all the bodies were buried. You're leaving on time? I am. She looked at me like she was seeing something new. In 6 years, I've never seen you leave before 7. Things change. She didn't say anything else, just watched me walk to the elevator. That was Friday. Monday morning, my phone buzzed at 6:47 a.m. Text from Cassidy. Quick question about the Miller delivery schedule. Can you call me? I was making coffee. Danny was still asleep in the other room. It was my week with him. I looked at the text. Then I put my phone in my pocket and finished making coffee. The text stayed unanswered. At 8:47 a.m., I arrived at the office, sat at my desk, opened my email. At 9:15 a.m., Cassidy appeared in my doorway. Her face was tight. Buck, did you get my text? I did. Why didn't you respond? I looked at her, kept my voice even. It was 6:47 in the morning. I was with my son. But the Miller account, your account now, I said. The transition documentation covers delivery schedules. Section 4, pages 12 through 18. She stared at me. Processing. I need you to walk me through it. I already did. Last Monday. It's all in the documentation. The documentation doesn't explain why Miller's team is saying their Tuesday shipment was supposed to be rerouted, and nobody told them. That would be the Tucson detour. Every third Tuesday of the month, Miller's shipment needed to stop at a secondary warehouse in Tucson to pick up specialty components. Beth Kendrick had set that up with me directly 3 years ago. Verbal agreement. Never documented because we'd never needed to document trust. I'm not sure, I said. You'll have to call them and ask. I tried calling. They're not picking up. Maybe try Beth Kendrick directly. She's the operations manager. I did. She asked to speak with you. I'm not the account manager anymore. Cassidy's jaw tightened. Buck, I need you to help me fix this. I looked at her, saw her father's eyes, the same certainty that things would work out because they always had. I'm happy to answer questions during business hours, I said, within the scope of my current position. Your current position? Regional Logistics Coordinator. My job description is in the company handbook. I handle routing assignments and basic dispatch support. Client relationship management is now your responsibility. She stood there for a long moment. Then she turned and walked away. That was Monday. By Wednesday, the Garcia warehouse had flooded. Monsoon season, right on schedule. Maria Santos called Ironwood's main line 4 times. Each time, she asked for me. Each time, she was transferred to Cassidy. I know this because Marlene told me. She's drowning, Marlene said. We were in the break room. She was stirring powdered creamer into her coffee. 3 accounts have complained this week. The Miller shipment got lost for 2 days. That's unfortunate. Buck. Marlene lowered her voice. What are you doing? My job. Exactly my job. Nothing more. She looked at me for a long moment. Navy taught you that? Life taught me that. Thursday, 4:15 p.m. Preston called me into his office. Buck, I'm hearing some concerns. About what? About your engagement level. He was trying to look concerned, fatherly. Cassidy says you're not being helpful with the transition. I completed all transition documentation on schedule, 47 pages. Cassidy signed off on it. She says you're refusing to help when she has questions. I answer every question she asks, during business hours. She says you're not going above and beyond. I let that hang in the air. Going above and beyond isn't in my job description, I said finally. I'm a regional logistics coordinator. I coordinate regional logistics. Client relationship management is the responsibility of the regional operations director. Preston's face reddened. That's not how we do things at Ironwood. We're a family here. Everyone pitches in. I pitched in for 6 years, 60-hour weeks, holidays, hospital beds. I kept my voice flat. I'm pitching in exactly as much as my position requires. Are you threatening me? No, sir. I'm doing my job. Exactly my job. If that's a problem, I'm happy to discuss it with HR. Preston stared at me. I watched the calculations happening behind his eyes. The realization that he couldn't fire me for doing exactly what my job description said. Not without cause. This conversation isn't over, he said. I understand. I left his office at 5 p.m. The next 3 weeks followed the same pattern. Phone calls I didn't answer after hours. Meetings I attended, but didn't lead. Questions I answered literally, precisely, and without any of the context that made the answers useful. Jim Castillo called the main line to complain about a scheduling conflict. He'd told Cassidy about his daughter's softball tournaments. She'd entered the dates wrong in her new CRM system. Maria Santos at the Garcia warehouse stopped returning Ironwood's calls entirely. The Phoenix Distribution Center reported a 23% increase in delivery errors. Beth Kendrick at Miller sent an email to Preston directly. Professional, polite, devastating. We valued our partnership with Ironwood for many years, largely due to our relationship with Buck Holloway. Recent changes have introduced challenges we hadn't anticipated. We're evaluating our options for the upcoming contract renewal. Asterisk, I know about the email because Marlene forwarded it to me. Thought you should see this, she wrote. Be careful. Careful. I was past careful. At the end of month 2, Ironwood's Southwest revenue was down 34%. By month 4, 3 accounts had formally notified their intent not to renew. By month 5, the Miller account, $2.7 million annually, was in active contract negotiations with a competitor, a company called Westbrook Logistics. They'd reached out to me 3 weeks earlier. "We've heard good things about you, Buck," their regional VP had said. "Our Southwest operations could use someone with your experience. I might be interested. When could you start?" Let me think about it. I was still thinking about it when Preston Whitmore called me into his office for the last time. It was a Tuesday. 2:47 p.m. His face was gray. The bloat seemed worse somehow. Deflated. "Buck, please, sit down." I sat. "I've been doing some thinking." His voice was different. Smaller. "About the regional director position." I waited. "Cassidy has decided to pursue other opportunities. She's moving to Portland, starting a consulting firm." He swallowed. "The position is open again." I said nothing. "I'd like to offer it to you, along with a new title, Associate Director of Regional Operations, and a raise. We can discuss numbers." "I'm listening." $82,000, plus benefits, plus a performance bonus structure tied to client retention. $82,000. $12,000 less than the position had offered originally. Before Cassidy, before the fresh perspectives. "That's the offer? It's a starting point." Preston leaned forward. "Buck, I need you. We need you. The Miller account is gone if you don't fix it. Santos won't take our calls. Castillo is shopping competitors." He paused. "I'm asking you to stay." My phone buzzed. Text from Danny. "Dad, you coming to the game tonight? Coach says I might start." I looked at the text. Then at Preston. Then I thought about 6 years. 60-hour weeks. Christmas mornings alone in my kitchen. A hospital bed in Tucson. I thought about $1,450 a month in alimony, and a man who thought that number made me his property. "No." Preston blinked. "No. I'm taking my $76,000 salary and my clients to a company that doesn't trade experience for a last name. You can't. The non-compete says I can't solicit Ironwood clients for 6 months after termination. I'm not being terminated. I'm resigning, and I'm not soliciting anyone." I stood. "They're calling me, have been for weeks, because relationships don't transfer with a spreadsheet." Preston's phone rang. He ignored it. "Buck, wait. We can talk about this. Whatever Westbrook offered, it's not about money." The phone kept ringing. It never was. I walked out of his office, past Cassidy's empty office with its chrome lamp still on the desk, past Marlene, who didn't say anything but nodded once as I passed. Behind me, I heard Preston's voice. Desperate. Small. "Buck, please." I kept walking. My phone buzzed again. Preston's number. I looked at it for a moment. Then I silenced it. Click. The drive to Danny's game took 43 minutes. I made it with 12 minutes to spare. The bleachers at Lincoln Middle School smelled like hot dogs and cut grass. Parents clustered in groups, checking phones, half watching warm-ups. I found a spot in the 3rd row, right behind the dugout. Danny saw me from the field, raised his glove once, quick, the way teenage boys acknowledge their fathers when they don't want to look too eager. I raised my coffee cup back. Coach Morrison had him starting at second base, first time all season. I watched him field grounders during warm-ups. Good hands, quick feet. He'd been practicing. My phone had 17 missed calls by the time the first inning ended. Preston, Marlene, a number I didn't recognize. Preston again. I turned it off. Danny went 2 for 3 that night. Line drive single in the 3rd. Ground ball through the hole in the 5th. After the game, we got burgers at the diner on Colfax. Vinyl booths. Waitress who'd been there since Reagan. "You seem different," Danny said, dragging a fry through ketchup. Different how? I don't know. He shrugged. Like you're actually here. I didn't say anything. You're not checking your phone every 5 seconds. Phone's off. He looked at me. 16 years old and already learning to read people. Something happened at work. Something happened. Good something or bad something? I thought about it. 6 years of 60-hour weeks. Christmas mornings in the kitchen. Hospital beds. Good something. He nodded. Went back to his burger. We didn't talk about it anymore. We didn't need to. The next 6 months unfolded exactly the way I knew they would. I started at Westbrook Logistics on a Monday. $76,000 base salary. Benefits. Normal hours. A manager named Patricia Chen, who'd spent 22 years in supply chain operations and knew what real expertise looked like. We don't need you to reinvent anything, she told me on my first day. We need you to do what you do. That works for me. The clients followed. Not because I solicited them. The non-compete was clear about that, and I honored it. But the non-compete said nothing about clients reaching out to me. Jim Castillo called Westbrook's main line 3 weeks after my start date. I hear Buck Holloway works there now. He does. Transfer me to him. The Miller account signed with Westbrook 6 days later. $2.7 million annually. Beth Kendrick flew to Denver personally to shake my hand. We should have done this a year ago, she said. Better late than never. Maria Santos at the Garcia warehouse was next, then Phoenix Distribution, then Castillo's full portfolio. One by one, the relationships I'd built migrated to a company that valued them. Ironwood's Southwest revenue dropped 60% in 4 months. I know this because Marlene kept me informed. She'd stayed on. Someone had to. But she'd already started interviewing elsewhere. Preston's losing it, she told me over the phone. Walking the halls at midnight, yelling at the dispatch team. Cassidy's consulting firm already folded. She's back in Denver, trying to help, but she still doesn't know how to do the job. She doesn't know how to do any job. Marlene paused. He's going to call you again. I know. What are you going to say? Nothing he wants to hear. The call came on a Tuesday, 4:15 p.m. I was in my office at Westbrook. Small office. No window. Didn't need one. Preston's number on my screen. I let it ring 4 times. Then I answered. Buck. His voice was hoarse, exhausted. Please, I need 5 minutes. You have 2. Silence. Then, the board is meeting Friday. They're talking about selling the company. Liquidation value only. My grandfather built this place. My father, he stopped. I need you to come back. No. I'll give you anything. Regional director. Senior VP. Name your title. Name your salary. Preston. Whatever Westbrook is paying, I'll double it. Preston. Please. The word hung there. Desperate. Small. I thought about the conversation in his office 2 years ago. Buck won't cause problems. He needs this job too much. You remember what you told Cassidy, I said, when you were deciding to pass me over? Silence. You said I wouldn't make waves because I had alimony payments. Because I was trapped. I kept my voice flat. You looked at everything I'd built and saw a man who couldn't afford to walk away. Buck, I didn't mean... You meant exactly what you said. That's the problem. I leaned back in my chair. You saw my circumstances and assumed they made me weak. That I'd take whatever you gave me because I had no choice. I was wrong. You were wrong about what I needed. You were right that I had no choice. I paused. I chose anyway. What do you want? Tell me what you want and I'll make it happen. Nothing you have. There has to be something. There isn't. I looked out at the hallway. Patricia Chen walked past, nodded once, kept going. I already have everything I want. A company that values what I do. Clients who trust me. Time to watch my son play baseball. Buck, your 2 minutes are up. I hung up. The phone stayed silent. Friday came. I heard about the board meeting from Marlene. Unanimous vote, 7-0. Ironwood Logistics would be sold to a regional competitor for salvage value. Preston Whitmore would be removed as CEO effective immediately. The company his grandfather built, gone in 6 months. Not because of a conspiracy, not because of a vendetta, because a man looked at decades of expertise and saw dead weight. Because he thought a last name and an MBA mattered more than the relationships that kept the lights on. Because he assumed that needing a paycheck meant accepting whatever he decided to give. 3 months after the sale, I got a letter. Handwritten. Preston stationery. Buck, I've had time to think. About the company. About the decisions I made. About you. I told myself I was modernizing. Bringing in fresh perspectives. But I wasn't. I was choosing comfort over competence. Family over function. You deserved that promotion. You deserved better than what I gave you. I'm sorry. Preston, I read it twice. Then I put it in my desk drawer, next to the coffee mug Danny gave me. World's okayest dad. I didn't write back. Some apologies come too late to matter. Some lessons cost more than they're worth. That Sunday, Danny and I were on the back deck, watching the sun drop behind the Rockies. Orange and purple, and the kind of quiet you can't buy. Rex was at my feet. Old lab, gray around the muzzle. He'd been with me through the divorce, the 60-hour weeks, the hospital bed in Tucson. He knew when things had shifted. Dad? Yeah? You ever miss it? The old job? I thought about it. I miss what it could have been, not what it was. He nodded. 16 and already understanding more than he should. That guy who called last week, the one you wouldn't talk to. That was your old boss? It was. What did he want? For things to go back to how they were. What did you tell him? I poured 2 fingers of bourbon. The good stuff, not the daily drinker. I told him no. Danny was quiet for a moment. Good. We sat there until the stars came out. I thought about Preston Whitmore. About Cassidy and her chrome lamp. About 6 years of 60-hour weeks and the assumption that circumstances made me controllable. They were wrong about that. They were wrong about a lot of things. But here's what I learned. Sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It isn't a speech in a boardroom or a lawsuit that makes the papers. Sometimes the best revenge is simply doing your job. Exactly your job. Nothing more. And letting the people who underestimated you discover what they lost. Y'all, if you enjoyed this story about what happens when loyalty meets disrespect, hit that like button and let me know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe and hit that notification bell to get updates on new stories just like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.